Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome council staff. It's Wednesday, January the 29th, 2025. I'd like to welcome those that are joining with us in person, as well as those that are joining with us virtually at home. We've got a little information for you for your trivia. Today is National Puzzle Day, or National Carnation Day. So there's something to take home and share with the family. I would remind you that this meeting will be streamed live and recorded for public viewing on the town's YouTube page. We acknowledge that this land on which we are gathered today is part of the ancestral land of the Chippewa, Ottawa, and Potawatomi peoples, referred to collectively as the Anishinaabe. It is through the connection of Anishinaabe with the spirit of the land, water, and air that we recognize their unique cultures, traditions, and values. Together as treaty people, we have a shared responsibility to act with respect for the environment that sustains all of life, protecting the future for those generations to come. Council, I would remind you, if you have a pecuniary interest, to declare it at the appropriate time. I see we have nothing listed for delegations. Clerk, has anything been added since this was printed? Thank you. Item number 5 on our agenda, business arising from previous meetings. I see nothing listed, Clerk. Nothing's been added. Nothing's been added. Okay. Council, let's go to item 6.1. I have a motion by Councillor Wolvett, seconded by Councillor Van Claveren, that the minutes be adopted by council and those confidential minutes of the closed sessions of council remain confidential and restricted from public disclosure in accordance with the exemptions provided in the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. That would be our planning public meeting, our zoning bylaw amendment 138 of 2024, 5706 Lakeshore Road of December 16th, 24. Regular council meeting minutes of January the 8th, 2025, and our closed regular council meeting minutes of January the 8th, 2025. Council, you've all had an opportunity to review those minutes. Everybody comfortable with them? Any questions? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? It is carried. Council, let's go to 6.2. I have a motion by Councillor Bojan, seconded by Councillor Basie. Will the minutes be adopted by council and those confidential minutes of the closed sessions remain confidential and restricted from public disclosure in accordance with the exemptions provided in the Municipal Freedom of Information Protection of Privacy Act. It will be our Wyoming Public Cemetery and Inactive Cemetery Committee meeting minutes of October the 10th, 2024, as well as Special Events Committee meeting minutes of December the 2nd, 2024. First, we have Councillor Wolvett here from the Cemetery Board, and Councillor Bojan is our liaison with special events. Are there any questions? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, council, let's go to item 6.3, councilor's report. Deputy?
Well, Mr. Wolvett, doing anything the last couple of weeks that you'd like to report on?
Very busy, but yeah, I don't have really anything to report.
Nothing that
on.
council's interested in.
Yep, there is a farm safety annual meeting coming up, and Mayor, I heard you have your ticket to that.
I committed to it.
Yeah.
I haven't got the ticket in hand yet.
Oh, she did. Okay, but you've committed to Agnes.
Yeah, I did.
Other than that, anybody can go. Just buy your ticket for $25. I think it's almost too late now. It's coming up next
So
week.
just forget about it.
They had to have their meals. Yeah. Other than that, no, that's so. Yeah.
Mr. Van Clever,
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I have nothing to report.
good boy.
Thank you.
Mr. Belgian.
I do have something to report because I was at Roma.
Yeah.
And I figured you would be asking about it.
Yes.
I'll filibuster here for a little bit. Yeah, just a few things to just bring up. So Ministry of Rural Affairs, I was going to touch on it, but you probably saw in recommended reading, the Honorable Lisa Thompson had a letter in there about it. But they were excited to talk about their new rural economic strategy. So we'll see what comes out of it. It's certainly quite exciting when they announce new exciting pillars and goals and strategies. So we'll see what comes out of it. As part of that announcement, they also said that the RED program, so their economic development program, is being modernized with new streams, and I think it was doubling the fund or something. It's 20 million over the next 2 years of putting into the RED program. So I'm sure we'll look at ways to kind of see if we can take advantage of that. Of note, OMAFA continued to double down on their commitment to protecting prime agricultural land. So they seem to keep talking about their protection of prime agricultural land.
Oh,
Yeah, so we'll see how serious they are about it. The Ontario Federation of Agriculture, I wanted to comment on that. So they did a session. They talked about on-farm diversification as of right policies for municipalities to help encourage it. But one thing that they said that I thought was really interesting and a good way to look at it is not only preserving prime agricultural farmland, but preserving farmers as well. So basically, how can we help them help their bottom line with on-farm diversification? And then lastly, the ministers panel, usually it's a lot of smoke and mirrors. I found actually Mr. Spansky was there as well. I kind of found it was probably the most blunt I've ever seen members of provincial parliament. I mean, they were pretty blunt with their answers. And there was a lot of questions about OPP, of course. And what was interesting to me, I can't remember the minister's name, but they're looking at defining what a call for service is, because obviously, as everyone knows, we pay for calls of service in our OPP contract. And some municipalities have been saying they're paying for calls of service when they show up to a fall fair or hand out pamphlets. So they've confirmed that they're looking into what that definition of a call for service is. So I'm sure that'll be helpful to know as well.
Yeah.
That's what I've got for you, Deputy.
okay, but while you were there, did they discuss land transfer tax redistribution?
I think it was brought up as I think it was a question
Oh, just a question.
in the ministers panel, and they didn't really give it.
Sidestepped it.
Yeah.
You can say they danced around it.
There's a lot of questions with like conservation authority, and it was point blank, like, no, we're not going to reconsider. There was a lot of blunt responses, which I thought was refreshing. That wasn't the right answers.
I was gonna say if they were, yeah, okay. Mr. Vasey.
Mine won't be near that long. We had no Parks and Rec this month, so nothing to report there. We did have a rink meeting last night that went very well, so
How
still
well did it go, sir?
very well. I was home by 6:30.
Sort of asking about what was discussed. Maybe can you fill us in on anything, or
Yes, that will
want to
be
tell us it was?
with you in a
everywhere?
report in the very near future.
I see.
It was a lot of the funding profile on their
How they're gonna raise
how
funds.
they're gonna do it and all that. So it'll be coming to us, say, probably next month kind of thing.
Okay.
But starting to get down to the nitty gritty of it, so.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, you probably haven't done a lot because you've been sort of in a different profession.
I have been, but I have been doing a few things, Deputy.
Oh, okay.
First of all, I wanted to give a shout out. I was this past Sunday at the community awareness event that was put on by two of our residents in Plympton-Wyoming for all community groups, be it a fraternal organization, service club, Boy Scouts, dragon boat racing, whatever that goes on in our municipality, except there was a couple that were missing that should have probably been there, but hands salute goes to those ladies that put it on, and probably I'd like to recognize them for what they've done. They've really pulled the community together. A lot of enthusiasm come out of it, and it's very good for anybody that is new to their municipality to see what we have to offer. So I'll probably do something for them coming up.
Yeah, well, the Independent had a good report on it. Yeah.
Yeah, Blake was there. Also, I attended Silver Stick and Forest for the U13s opening ceremonies for that. As you're probably aware, the Petrolia team won that tournament. They came back and won it all. I was joined by our CIO and our MPP yesterday. There was an announcement at our wellness center. We have received funding for the next 2 years for funding to keep our wellness center going. We'll be sharing $910,000 with the Rapids. And we're finding that both the Rapids and our wellness center are working very well together. We're going to be extending the hours here. As we know, they're there 5 days a week. And on Monday night, in February, they're going to be opening on Thursday nights as well. And it's, the numbers are meeting the targets that have been set. And the province is very happy with it. So we're very happy that we're locked in for some funding for 2 years for sure. So that's very positive. I did receive a letter from the mayor of the town of Petrolia, thanking us for sending our fire department over to help them with the recent fire. As you probably are aware, a letter from their fire chief to our fire chief, it will be it's in the agenda for the fire board. So it's nice that we could help our neighbors and to be recognized by them as well. And said to Mayor Loosely before, we're only a phone call away. We're there to help you because that's how we work together. And tomorrow I have a laws meeting and couple of meetings during that meantime with a few of our business people. So that's about it. Deputy, what about you?
Thank you. No, I haven't done much. Oh, well, yes, I had had to do a meeting. Yeah, you know how I like to take your place in that chair.
And I noticed it's
And-
lower.
That's the weight of it.
Just
No, I haven't had to do much besides that, so. And that's about it. It's the end of our counselors' reports.
all right. Well, thank you. Okay, let's go to item 7.1. I see we have nothing on the agenda at this time. Well, that takes us to item 8.1. I have a motion by Councillor Van Claveren, seconded by Deputy Mayor McEwen. Report by Ella Flynn, Executive Assistant Deputy Clerk, dated December the 20th, 2024, regarding the 2024 Wyoming Public Cemetery year-end update we received for information. We have Ms. Flynn with us as well as the chair of the cemetery board. Are there any questions on that? Seeing none, call for the vote. All those in favor? It's carried. Thank you, Ms. Flynn. Item 8.2, council, we have a motion by Councillor Van Claveren, seconded by Deputy Mayor McEwen. That the report by Elizabeth Cummings, Drainage and Engineering Coordinator, dated January the 13th, 2025, regarding a new schedule of assessment for the repairs and maintenance of the park drain, be received, and the council appoints R. Dobbin Engineering Incorporated under Section 76 of the Drainage Act to produce a new schedule of maintenance for the park. We have our drainage and engineering coordinator here. Are there any questions of Ms. Cummings? Hearing none, call for the vote. All those in favor? Thank you, Ms. Cummings. Okay, let's go to item 8.3. I have a motion by Councillor Bojan, seconded by Councillor Vasey. But the report by Paul De Silva, Director of Public Works, dated January the 20th, 2025, regarding the Plympton-Wyoming Drinking Water Master Plan update be received, and that the master plan update completed by AECOM included recommending capital works identified within the study be approved. Is there any question or discussion on this one? Councillor Bojan.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Bob,
I just,
I went to Councillor Bojan first.
don't appreciate that,
Then come to you.
but I had a request that we defer this till the next meeting. So I want to get in ahead of any questions. By a fellow counselor that's not here tonight, that had questions on this. It's just a request to defer to the next meeting. This is just a report. It's not like we're making any big decisions here, but that's the request. So it's up to the council what they want to do or not.
Councillor Bojan, you had a question?
I just have a one comment / question. I brought this up at the Environmental Services Committee meeting, so just so everyone knows, I was talking about specifically the Hillsborough and Townsend area line item. It was discussed at that committee, and I personally raised the concern that this is a pretty high attention area in terms of water flow and higher density development going in that area, where we've been told over and over again that it's self-sufficient, we can build higher density here. And then now we have this big expensive water main project going in that area. So I raised the concern there that I know it says in here that there could be cost sharing agreements. But I'm of the opinion that it shouldn't be could, it should be will. If we're improving infrastructure in this area and it's benefiting new development, it should be paid for by new development. So I just want to make that clear that we did talk with that the Environmental Services Committee, and Paul did have some answers, so you might want to jump in here as well, but I just want to make that clear, it was discussed.
Mr. De Silva?
Yeah, through your worship. That was discussed at Environmental Services, and one of the major things that I kind of want to bring up here is even if this development wasn't to move forward, this is still identified as a priority because we do lack fire flow in this area for the existing community. Not just fire flow, there's one feed that feeds the Invercare and Hillsborough Beach community, and it comes off of Hillsborough Road and Lakeshore, the south leg of it. And if anything were to happen with that feed, it would put everyone out of water. So not only is this a fire flow requirement, it's also a bit of a redundancy requirement too, to provide secondary looping. For example, the Blue Point community, that entire area has 4 separate feeds off of the Laws Main. So I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention. The developer is aware that that council is not in favor of connecting to the existing Lambton Shore system. So we made that clear in our comments back to them. So in our comments, we also said the town is willing to investigate some alternatives. One of those alternatives would be to install this main downtowns in line. And our expectation would be, because it is going to be positive for them, that they would contribute to those costs. But those conversations just haven't happened.
So could happen.
Should.
Sure.
Okay, Councilor Basie, did you have a question?
That's exactly the line.
Debbie?
No, I think Paul's covered it pretty well. I received an email from a resident too that was very concerned about, approving a subdivision and that there's not adequate water for fire protection. But we can still put that in a subdivision agreement, can we not? That they have to contribute towards that cost.
Through your worship, absolutely, that would be part of a subdivision agreement. And any future development that happened in the area, they would be paying frontage fees, which would assist with that cost as well.
Frontage in, well, yeah, okay. A little more. I just thought I'd throw that in. That's all, sir.
Councilor Van Claveren?
Maybe just what are we obligated as a municipality in providing fire protection water for further out? Now there's some density there, so obviously there's some obligation, but are we obligated to provide sufficient, or tankers?
I think when we had the fire out in that area, there was a major concern. I don't know what our legal obligation is on that. So do you have that in?
I don't exactly have our legal obligation, but I know we design water mains to certain standards, and that standard is roughly 50 liters per second, and this area only has about 30 to 35.
And what, if I may follow up, what is our policy as far as a community and providing them fire protection water? Is there a kind of a minimum, maximum? Obviously not a maximum, but is there a minimum where we provide that?
I think Councilor Basie, if I may, Mr. Silva, defer to Councilor Basie, he may have that information.
Yeah, out in anywhere out along there is all done by a shuttle service. So that's why we all have tankers. So if it were out there, it would be us, Forest, Lackey, and probably Arcona would all be bringing water with them. So if there's hydrants, we would supplement them. So it's not going to be enough fire flow to do the fire, but what we're bringing with us, and they would go all night long. So it's how we do fires out in the rural area. It's not everybody has a fire hydrant. It could be, usually at the corner of a side road. is where you have a hydrant, and then everything in between there is done by shuttle, so. You can certify your tankers to fire flow rating, and all that is you demonstrate that you can supply that water for, I think it's 2 hours or 3 hours nonstop to keep that flow going, and then you get a certificate saying we meet that. So we explored that 2016 or something like that, and then council didn't think it was warranted because you get a certificate and that's about all you get, so. But that's how we would do a fire out there, whether there's subdivision there or not, so.
Right. Would you say you go out to most fires with tankers and
Out in, yeah, like your house,
Mhm.
I'll be done with the tanker.
you would show up? Okay.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't well, I'd probably show up. So what they do is we put big pools down. And we dump the water in the pool.
Gotcha.
And they just go all night long filling that pool nonstop. And the fire trucks draw out of the pool.
So maybe one last follow-up, Mr. Mayor. So again, I guess what is our obligation to beef up those main feed lines?
So it's also it's not just fire and domestic flow. You also have to consider water quality. You have probably our longest dead end water main at that section, which is prone to development of organics, which then the chlorine interacts with the organics, causing a chemical called THMs, and that is a carcinogen. So we actually have to measure all of our dead ends and flush them constantly. By having a looped water main, you reduce and eliminate many THMs and you increase the water quality exponentially. So that's a massive benefit. And eliminating dead ends is always a good idea for a municipality. As far as existing buildings, Councillor Vasey is correct. That's how we would typically handle it. When I was in Paul's role, we established, working with the fire department, consulting with the fire underwriters and an FPA, that the absolute bare minimum flow rate that we would accept on any new development where they have to install a new hydrant would be 50 liters per second. If they were infilling, so building a house in an existing area in front of an existing water main where there's an existing hydrant, it's already serviced, that wouldn't necessarily apply. But where they're building a full development and installing new hydrants, we've applied that 50 liters per second minimum, which this development can't meet. If there was no development in the area, there would still be a deficiency in flow for fire, which could theoretically affect the insurance rates of those people. So although we don't have a standard that says the level of service we provide, fire underwriter survey will occasionally ask you for flows. We don't typically provide them, but they will go out, look at the hydrants, and if it's less than an orange top, so a red top, and those are color codings under NFPA, red tops mean there's typically less than 50 liters per second, and they will note that actually that property is not technically under underwriters survey fire protected. So those insurance rates would go up. So that's why where we can, we try to, where we have an easy opportunity to increase the pressures to be over 50 liters per second for our existing mains, we would typically like to do so. There's areas in town where that's virtually impossible without extending kilometers of water main, but where it's a matter of a short distance and we can share that cost with the developer. In the past, we've usually undertaken that process.
Okay, very good. Thanks, fellas. Yep.
So I guess for clarity's sake, all of that you said is currently status quo of what's going on. So anyone who lives in that's status quo right now. I think that's what they're living, that's the world they live in right now anyways, correct? So my concern here is that, again, and it's a fair concern from the public who live around there, because I haven't talked, I haven't door knocked, but the people who have reached out say that the water pressure, for example, is not a concern. They can't talk about fire flow. But to me, it sounds like we need to make sure that we're getting most of the money back. If the policy is a new development needs that amount of flow, then not one house or one road should be built in a new development until that water flow is there by the people building the houses. So I just want to make sure it's clear that we are expecting that. for any house or any development being built in that area, that it's for them, so they should be paying for it.
Counselor Wolvett, any questions from you?
Well, I agree with everything Alex has said. We discussed this in depth at the environmental committee meeting, and obviously the letter we got reflects on the discussion that we had at that environmental committee. So it kind of counter flow to what we discussed and I thought was going to happen, but we know that development should pay for development. And I appreciate what Mike has said about, you know, we can have tanker trucks, but you're gonna build a new subdivision, multiple housing. The least you can do is supply them with a decent fire service and water pressure. You shouldn't have to wait for tankers. Saying that, the one thing that I don't see in this master plan, and maybe it wasn't part of it, but expanding the distribution system to areas that don't have fresh drinking water, only on well systems. I don't see anything in here about expanding it whatsoever. This is only for existing stuff that's in the
Those that have been viewing and watching, we apologize. We've had some technical difficulties. I believe they are sorted out now, so we'll continue on with the agenda. We're dealing with item 8.3, so we'll just continue on the conversation from that end. Mr. Silva, I believe you had the floor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just in case it got cut off, the question was, did this master plan identify areas that are underserved by water currently? And the shorter answer to that is no. And how that would typically be done is through like a local improvement process. So if there was a road that had multiple residences on it and they all wanted water, they could petition the municipality. We would go through a little bit of a study, come up with an estimate of how much it would cost, and then we'd follow the Local Improvement Act. And what, generally speaking, they would be responsible for paying 100% of those costs. That would be generally how that process would work.
Good, thank you for that clarification. Councilors, are there any other questions? I'm getting the feeling that, I could be wrong here, but I'm getting the feeling that we would probably want to defer this, but we need a reason why. Are we looking for more information? As far as the cost sharing goes, we do need to have a reason for doing this. Councilor B?
Yeah, I'd be fine to maybe put it in perspective where the council is of the opinion, we want to make sure there is a cost sharing, what the options are for that. 'Cause I think Mr. De Silva said something along the lines of even future lands that don't even have a plan of subdivision, there might be ways to still get that money later if we went through with it. So maybe perhaps it's just a report that lays out exactly what that looks like and which options exist.
I know you made that motion and Councilor Basie seconded. Comfortable with that, Councilor Basie? Well, the rest of the council, are you okay with that? Mr. De Silva, does that throw your timeline off? Are you okay to be able to do that and bring that back to us?
Yeah, that's not a problem.
So I'll call for the vote then for this to be deferred. So I'm getting that feeling from all the council. All those in favor? That is deferred. Okay, council, let's go to item 9.1. I have a motion by Councilor Basie, seconded by Councilor Bojan, that bylaw 13/2025 being a bylaw to appoint a deputy clerk for the town of Plympton-Wyoming, be taken as having been read 3 times and finally passed. And the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the said bylaw accordingly. Any questions on that? All those in favor? That is carried. Brown, welcome aboard. Okay, item 10, correspondence. I have nothing listed. Clerk, has anything arrived since this was printed?
Correction required, Your Worship.
You. Let's go to item 11, 11.1, moved by Councilor Wolvett, second by Councilor Van Claveren, that correspondence items A to J relating to recommended reading and routine approval and information items be noted as received by Plympton-Wyoming Council and filed accordingly. That's A to J. Councilor Basie, anything from you?
Nothing.
Deputy Mayor, anything from you?
Yeah. London Farm Safety had, are you searching for places to have your meetings or?
No,
Oh. It looked like you weren't able to find places that would feed you.
we were searching for a place for the annual
Oh,
meeting.
okay. All right,
So
but it's not for every meeting that.
no,
Okay,
just
fine.
for the annual meeting, they've picked a place now. I guess.
Okay, I didn't pick that up
Yeah.
right then. Thank you. Yeah. I think that's all. Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Bojan,
Nothing for me, thank you.
Councilor Van Claveren,
Nothing from me, sir.
Councilor Wolvett.
No, sir.
I have nothing, so we'll all those in favor? Carried. Okay, council, any new business? Let's start with Deputy Mayor.
No, I didn't have any old business and now I don't have any new business. Thank you.
Councilor Van Claveren,
Nothing from me, sir. Thank you.
Councilor Wolvett.
One item here, we talked about this one before, and it's to do with the Chamber of Commerce. The reason I asked this question, recently there was a breakfast at the Chamber of Commerce that, which in the end I read in the paper was quite important about future possibly nuclear facilities down in St. Clair Township and stuff like that. I'd like to at least see notices goes out to the councilors that these events, not all of them, but certain ones, especially these breakfast events where they bring in big speakers and important speakers. In the past, we have attended, council has attended some of those with the mayor. The mayor has sponsored them, depending on the topic, right? And I thought this last one, I've seen pictures of councilors from other municipalities at this event. And like I say, talking about, these hydro facilities down here at Courtright. So if we could get notice of what's going on with the chamber, we are a member, would be nice. So people could pick out what they'd like to attend or what they may not to attend. So
I'm sure that it's on our website, but did we not send that notification out to council?
Something about it was after the fact. I'm not sure.
Well, it's not a big deal. We can certainly do that.
Are you there, Mr. Mayor, at that one?
Was.
Yeah, that pretty important meeting. So, okay, that's my request. And I guess the second, when's our new stoplights coming? Man, I get bugged every morning about that.
We need to stay out of the coffee shops.
Yeah,
Your worship.
I keep telling them next week.
All of the materials are ordered, contractors in place, the hydro work is completed. The weather has not been great. The person I've been dealing with at Blue Water Power is currently on vacation because I anticipated this question coming and I tried to get an answer for you. I think at this point, we probably will wait until the weather improves a bit. But yes, we're still working towards it.
People do read the minutes, so that's what we got to get it. So spring.
I would say spring.
Thank you.
2025.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
That's all, Counselor?
Yes, sir.
All right. I have, Counselor Bates, do you have anything in?
No, I do not. Thank you.
Counselor Bojan?
Nothing for me, thank you.
All right. With that business closed, let's move to, item 13. I have a motion by Counselor Basie, seconded by Counselor Bojan, that council move into an in-camera meeting of council pursuant to section 239 of the Municipal Act 2001. Amended for the following reasons. Item A, litigation matters, section 239, bracket 2, bracket E, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or a local board. Item B, proposed land disposition matters, section 239, bracket 2, bracket C, proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board. And item C, personal matters, section 239, bracket 2, bracket B, personnel matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. Council, you've heard that motion. All those in favor? It's carried. For those that are joining with us virtually, thank you very much. We will be going in camera. We'll be coming out to close off. That will wrap up this meeting, and at 6:30 we'll be starting our budget deliberations. Thank you very much for being with us. We'll see you at 6:30.